Good evening from the Mountain Weather Information Service. This is your forecaster Jeff Monk looking at the planning outlook on the mountains, specifically for next week. Broadly speaking, it doesn't look like a great week. Frequent rain coming onto western mountains and areas of low cloud. The rain then and the low cloud will tend to be concentrated on western mountains, though most areas will have rain from time to time. There are fairly strong signs of a period of strong winds midweek, upland gales becoming quite widespread. Some uncertainty as to exactly where the worst of the wind will be, but certainly Wednesday, Thursday, and perhaps even into Friday, there will be areas of upland, even severe upland gales, perhaps with time through those 3 days becoming a little bit less extensive. So just taking you through a sequence fairly quickly. Early on in the week, we've got low pressure. The colours illustrate rainfall. These charts courtesy of weather consultancy services. Generally speaking, the rain, the showers as it'll be Monday and Tuesday, concentrated during the mornings, and this is really the summation of the rain in the latter part of the morning, but generally the rain concentrated on more western mountains in the morning, but concentrated in the afternoons more inland, with many coastal mountains becoming dry and probably enjoying a little bit of sunshine with some cloud breaks. Generally speaking, though, sunshine on the mountains is going to be a little bit in short supply. By Tuesday, the low will have filled up somewhat, but other than that, the weather situation very similar, still broadly southwesterly winds, again tending to take showers from west coastal mountains inland progressively during the day. Over in the southwest, an area of rain is beginning to come in. So by Wednesday, we have an area of low pressure somewhere off to the west of Ireland, slightly different positions according to the different forecast models as they run every 6 or 12 hours. But it does look as if there will be strong winds widely spreading eastwards across the mountains, a deterioration as persistent rain comes in, and also extensive low cloud. So this particular model indicates that around the latter part of the morning, the worst of the rain will be on mountains near the Irish Sea, and also getting into southern England, with relatively little at that stage over Scotland, though if the whole low and associated fronts are perhaps 100 or 200 miles further north, then Scotland will get the rain earlier, so don't necessarily plan on a reasonable day in Scotland. It could well deteriorate considerably. One point, though, through the next week or so is that with frequent southerly winds over northern Scotland, it may well be that on most days total rainfall in the far north, particularly Sutherland areas that you can get at from Ullapool northwards, will have relatively little rain. So this may well be the driest area of the country. Also probably the northern Cairngorms, Lochnagar area, in other words summits that are most easily accessible here from Deeside. So those two look like being relatively dry. Toward the end of the week, the low pressure will gradually come into the country, into northwest Scotland perhaps, possibly a little bit further south, and gradually float away eastwards. This is actually a chart according to this particular model at midnight on Friday, the beginning of the day. But at this range, the forecast could easily be 12, 18 hours wrong. In other words, the low might be a little bit quicker or a little bit slower. Weather-wise, it makes little difference. Areas of strong winds blowing around the low, extensive cloud, particularly shrouding western mountains almost persistently in many areas, and areas of showery rain. Again, if anything, that tendency for the worst of the rain to be on western mountains in the morning, whilst extending inland and perhaps breaking up a little bit on some western mountains in the afternoon, though with stronger winds. That tendency may be less strong later next week. So it does look relatively unsettled. So just before we finish, we're going to look at the wind speed early next week and also total rainfall. Looking at the wind, there's a lot of colours on this chart, courtesy of meteoseal.fr, and this is actually Sunday early afternoon. A lot of colour on it, and I've ringed in black The main mountain areas from Ben Nevis up towards up towards the Cairngorms. Let's just put it back to where it was at midday Sunday. Here, also the Lake District, also the Snowdon area, just to give a handle, because at times the map will be a little bit difficult to see as the colours come and go. So I'm going to show you a sequence. This is midday on Sunday. The orange colours represent relatively strong winds, where certainly on upland areas walking is certainly going to be quite arduous if you're walking into the wind, quite gusty, typically wind speeds around 30-35 miles an hour. So let's see what these areas do on Sunday. So they may well be very close, coming in off the Irish Sea into Cumbria, into northwest Wales. However, lightest winds do look as if they're going to be over northern Scotland. This is looking through hourly through Sunday afternoon and then into Sunday night. So if we go through Sunday night into Monday morning, we will see that by about 8 o'clock on Monday morning, the winds are a lot lighter. The greeny colours are moderate winds, so there's a breeze, 15, maybe 20 miles an hour on the summits, possibly a little bit stronger over mid-Wales, though at this range that probably isn't going to be precisely in the right spot. But again, it's the Highlands of Scotland which have least wind. During the day on Monday, hour by hour, perhaps slightly stronger winds move a little bit further north across Scotland, but generally speaking, across the Highlands, a day of very light winds. What that does mean, incidentally, is that as the showers develop inland, they won't move very quickly, so it could well rain for an hour or so. Again, just a hint, perhaps, of the strongest winds being, again, on mountain areas close to the Irish Sea. If we now go on and on, hour by hour, and look at Tuesday, this is a midday on Tuesday, most of the country is in this sort of dark green area, which again is fairly light winds, 15, perhaps 20 miles an hour on the summits. Again, if anything, lighter winds over the Scottish Highlands. So that's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. One or two areas of blustery winds, but generally speaking, quite reasonable. But then it changes. This is as we go into Wednesday, or at least at this stage it's Tuesday night, running on into Wednesday morning. By about 5 or 6 o'clock at dawn, shall we say, it looks as if those strong winds will be coming through into the Irish Sea, into West Wales, and then through the day will extend northeastwards across much of England and Wales and into Scotland. But as I said earlier, if that whole weather system is 100 or 200 miles further north, those strong winds will reach Highland Scotland very much earlier. And then later in the week, there will be bands of strong winds continuing to circulate around the area of low pressure. So the final chart is accumulated rainfall. Again, the map background is the same, chart courtesy of meteorseal.fr, and this is the accumulated rainfall over around 8 days, so until the next weekend. So that's around the 5th or the 6th of August. The oranges, those are the areas of peak rainfall defining the Western and Northwest Highlands, Galloway, the Lake District, the Central Pennines, and also areas over Western South Wales. So these figures represent, or these colours represent, total rainfall over a week or so of 70 to 100 millimetres, so in old money that's 3 to 4 inches, so it is going to be wet. So streams are often going to be running fairly high, sometimes really in spate, and it is going to be very wet underfoot over those western mountains. Some areas more sheltered, East Wales, Eastern Pennines, Borders, easternmost summits in Scotland, Glenshee, and up toward the Cairngorms, although this particular model is showing a maximum up toward the Moray coast, which may not occur. In these drier areas, though, we're still looking at total rainfall, perhaps 20, 30, 40 millimetres, so we're still looking at an accumulation of an inch or so. So, not the best of summer weather over mountains this week. Perhaps going to have to work a little bit hard to find some fine, settled weather, as generally there will be rain about on most days and those periods of strong winds from the middle of next week.